would like to take you through what are the key regulations. So basically, IMO 2023 and 2025 are the regulations where the decarbonization of the shipping sector is started. They mandated the reduction in the carbon emissions by the shipping, and 2023 was like that they will give efficiency rating for the vessel, and each year each vessel or the vessel owner have to improve the energy efficiency for their vessels. And IMO 2025 mandates the net zero target that by 2050 the carbon emission by the vessel has to be zero, and that is where, and this is has to be the phase wise emission. By 2030 the 20% reduction, and by 2040 the 70% reduction, taking to 100% reduction by 2050. Now this required the ship vessel owners, and this requires the vessel owners to take interventions in short, medium, and long term, considering various factors to reduce the carbon emissions for their vessels, so that they are in line with the requirements, the regulations, as well as also they have to look at the costs. So there are several options available to them. One is, which we have been discussing throughout the day, one is the alternate fuel option. Yes, that switching over to the cleaner and greener fuels. That is one. And then there are other interventions which they would be using in the short to medium term, so that they are within the mandated regulatory carbon emissions requirement, which is including improving the energy efficiency of the vessel, reducing the waste from the vessel, also using solar panels or some other renewable energy to get part power for the vessel. So there would be some, these are some of the ways, but most of it is going to be coming now from the cleaner and greener fuels. And we have discussed again whole day, but these are some few of the fuel options which are there, which shipping companies are looking forward to, including the LNG. LNG is there, then ammonia and hydrogen is there, and then biofuel and the methanol. Now, each options have got their own pros and cons. Like biofuel, you don't have to have any retrofitting. They can be used, so they can bring down their carbon emissions. You can use biofuel, mix them, blend them with the current IFO, and bring down your carbon emissions for the vessel, and is very useful in the short to medium term. Similarly, methanol also, the retrofitting requirements are not very high from the cost perspective. Also, the methanol is not that very high, and that is why methanol could be a potential requirement in medium to long term. So methanol and LNG also could be a requirement in medium to long term. While ammonia and hydrogen are being viewed as of now as something in the long term, they would be more viable, given that the technology is going to improve more. The technology is going to bring the cost down for the green ammonia and green hydrogen. Yeah. So from the cost perspective, basically, as I said, that LNG and methanol, they are on the medium level, but for the hydrogen and ammonia, the costs are currently comparatively higher. And biofuel, it would be lesser because the retrofitting costs are lesser. Now, from a vessel owner perspective, what are the parameters through which the vessel owner is going to decide upon the cost parameter? One, because for him, he has to bring down the carbon emissions across all its vessels. The vessels which are old, vessels which are newly bought, and vessels which they plan to buy in the future. So they have to think through that. Maybe for the older vessels, the retrofitting requirement, they would not want to undertake, so they would opt for a fuel which are easily available without any retrofitting requirements. For vessels for which subsequent age, considerable age is remaining, they may go for the retrofitting requirements. And then for the new vessels, they may look forward to fuel alternative, which is going to be in the long term. That is one. Second aspect would be the availability of the infrastructure, or availability of the bunkering options, whether the bunkering options or the support infrastructure for those fuel options is already available. From that perspective, LNG, methanol comes out to be the such one of those options. LNG is available now, a lot of multiple ports. At least as a fuel, it is available, and then there is a pathway transition to the greener fuel. Like for LNG, from LNG you go to the biomethane, and from biomethane it is ELNG. Similarly, from methanol, currently whatever is being produced to the e-methanol, which is the completely green methanol derived from the sources where there is no carbon emission. Now, across the countries, and even that has been the what Mr. Thomas also mentioned, the cost is a key aspect, that who is going to pay for this. At the end of the day, there is regulation, but then there is a cost. Okay, so countries, the governments also realize that they are taking those steps, initiatives which include ranging from the financial initiatives which they are providing, also getting involved into the design aspects, that for the cleaner fuel, the greener fuel, what would be the engine design or vessel design which is going to be which is going to keep the cost down for the vessels, and also, yeah, and then providing the support infrastructure for those fuel options. Same way, considering this, Indian government has also is taking several steps. Maritime Amrit Kal Vision documents, even 2030 Vision document, they provide government intention towards, and they provide several initiatives which the government plans to undertake towards implementing the greener and cleaner shipping, also towards more sustainable port operations. And several initiatives which they already have taken is, one is the green tug initiatives, and I am aware, I mean, several of the major ports, they are already in the process of procuring the uh, green tugs. Then similarly, the from the policy level, Harit Sagar Green Port Guidelines, which mandates the guidelines for a sustainable port operations. Then Harit Nauka, which mandates guidelines towards the uh, operation for the vessels in the waterways, inland waterways. Then there is another maritime development fund, which the madam already highlighted, that their government has provided a maritime development fund, which would be used for uh, such efforts towards the cleaner and greener maritime sector operations, including the shipping. And then the government is also taking initiatives towards the green shipping corridor. Tuticorin Port is also considering uh, operating such a corridor between Kandla and Tuticorin. So that is again one intervention is the government is. From the green corridor perspective, there are, as I said, Tuticorin and Kandla, that is a corridor which is already identified. Then there are several corridors which are proposed. Now, how the vessels, whether the vessels or when the vessels are going to be operated along those corridors would depend upon several factors. Again, the cost of operating or transporting the cargo through that clean or greener fuel. Also, the availability of the infrastructure, such as the bunkering infrastructure and bunkering facility across these corridors. Also, and the availability of the vessel, such vessels which can be plied on these corridors. So there would be several factors which needs to be assessed, and that is why the government is also undertaking the pilot projects, so that they can see what are the challenges, what are the maybe at the level of government, what incentives may be required to uh, incentivize vessel operators, private vessel operators, to ply their vessels on this corridors.